Hi everyone, Luke here from Weekend Tour Pros. We're back again in the studio today for another ball review / test. That's because this time we're going to take the Callaway Chrome Soft, Chrome Soft X and Chrome Soft XLS and put them side by side, head to head in a test in my hands as a mid-handicap average swing speed golfer. We'll test out all the different claims that Callaway make about these golf balls and work out where the potential trade-offs are or benefits of using each of these golf balls are if you've got a swing speed similar to mine or perhaps a little bit faster or a little bit slower. Let's start by telling you a little bit about these three golf balls, how they differentiate themselves, and then we'll start hitting some shots. Let's get stuck in. Right, so before we start hitting some shots, I just want to tell you a little bit about the construction of these three golf balls. Now, I'm not going to go into as much detail as normal here because actually I don't think Callaway's language makes it really easy to distinguish and pick out which you think is the right one for you at the start of the test. So instead, I'll tell you a little bit about what I expect each ball to do at the start of each of the tests. The information I do want to pick out though at this part, as you can see on screen, is the construction of the golf balls is slightly different. The Chrome Soft is a 3-piece urethane cover golf ball versus the 4-piece X and XLS, but still with that urethane cover. The elephant in the room is the name of Callaway Chrome Soft. The X and the XLS are certainly not soft golf balls. With a 95 compression rating, they are two of the firmest golf balls available on the market today. So please don't get duped into buying one of these golf balls expecting it to feel incredibly soft. The Callaway Chrome Soft, on the other hand, the original ball in this family, definitely is a soft feeling golf ball, particularly when compared to the other premium 3-piece urethane cover golf balls out on the market today, and it definitely does live up to that name. In terms of ball flight, expecting to see that the Callaway Chrome Soft X is a bit more workable versus the other two golf balls, but the worry for me there as a mid-handicap golfer is, does that mean that my left to right dispersion will actually increase because of that workability? But we'll keep an eye on that when we do the test. And in terms of ball launch, we are expecting the Chrome Soft to be the highest, then the XLS, and the lowest of the three ball flights to come from the Callaway Chrome Soft X. The only other points I'm going to touch on here is the colours. They all come in white and yellow, and they do come in various triple track options. There's definitely more triple track options in the Chrome Soft and the Chrome Soft X than there is in the XLS, but there definitely is at least one triple track option in all three for you. And in terms of price point, at £47.99, they're all the same price point, but they're also the same price as the Titleist Pro V1. So what that says to me, given the reputation and the performance of the Titleist Pro V1, you're going to have to see something really interesting in these numbers to potentially pick one of these golf balls over the Pro V1 at this price point, or potentially you're going to be a Callaway devotee who's playing a cheaper Callaway golf ball or one of these golf balls already and just looking for something a little bit different out of them, and hopefully we'll be able to answer those questions for you today. Right, what we're going to do now is set up the first test, a 20-yard pitch shot with a 60-degree wedge, and we'll tell you what we're expecting out of these golf balls in terms of short game performance, and we'll start hitting some shots. Right, so we've got the first test set up and we're going to do a 20-yard pitch shot with a 60-degree wedge to test the short game characteristics of these three golf balls. Now, based on the write-up that Callaway tell us, what I'm expecting to happen is the Chrome Soft to feel the softest, and I'm really intrigued to see if we notice a difference in feel between the X and the XLS because they are both the same compression and a similar construction, being 4-piece urethane golf balls, so really keen to see if we notice a difference. In terms of short game spin, what I'm expecting is the Chrome Soft X to be the highest spinning golf ball, followed by the XLS, and then finally the Callaway Chrome Soft to be the lowest out of the three. But again, Callaway are telling us they're high, higher, highest, so expecting good short game spin with all three of these golf balls. Right, let's start the test. It does feel great, this golf ball. It just reminds me straight away of what I used to remember about the feel of it. It really is a lovely soft feeling cover and golf ball to hit on the short game shots. First one that I've seen spin over 4,000. Only just, but again, that could be a slightly better quality of strike, but good to know it can do that. Okay, let's move on to the Chrome Soft X, expecting this to feel a little bit firmer and expecting this to be the highest spinning golf ball in this part of the test. Oh God, that sound is so much clippier, wow. It really is clippy. That's so audibly different. So I've caught that one really nicely, and the spin at 4609 is one of the highest. It's definitely spinning more is the X ball. I can definitely see that in the numbers. So moving to the XLS, expecting similar feels and sounds as the X that we've just hit, but expecting a spin rate somewhere in the middle of the two golf balls. Definitely didn't notice anything audibly different between the X and the XLS there, and yeah, spinning somewhere in the middle. Right, so let's deep dive into the data from that 20-yard pitch shot with the 60-degree wedge. Now, if you're returning to my channel, I apologise for boring you by repeating myself here, but if you are new to the channel, I'm a 12 handicap golfer. I'm the biggest variable throughout this test, and it always comes through the most in this short game shot because of my ability to consistently hit a 20-yard shot time after time and my ability to strike the ball consistently time after time. So please do bear that in mind when I put this data set up. Starting on the left-hand side, that really does come to the forefront. You can see there's a bit of variability in club head speed, ball speeds and smash factors, but they are all in the same ballpark as each other, and I do think the variability you're seeing is all down to me. One of the claims from Callaway that we did want to validate though in this part of the test was those short game spin claims. Callaway told us the Chrome Soft X would be the highest spinning, and that is absolutely true at 4327. They also told us the regular Chrome Soft would be the lower spinning out of the three. Again, that's been validated at 3853, and the XLS would be smack bang in the middle, and it absolutely is at 4118. So we can definitely give a tick to Callaway and validate that short game spin claims. In terms of ball flights, they all deliver a really similar ball flight. If we did want to call one of them out, the regular Chrome Soft is launching a little bit higher and landing a little bit steeper, so a slightly loopier ball flight than the other two golf balls, but I don't think you'd notice that out on the golf course looking at how close the data is on all three balls. Now, what about stopping power with this short game shot? Well, the Callaway Chrome Soft X delivers the most stopping power. The difference between the carry number and the total is only 5.5 yards on average, versus 5.7 with the other two golf balls. Now, in reality, that's 0.2 yards of difference between all three golf balls. That's approximately 1 foot on a 20-yard pitch shot that's rolled out to 25 yards. You really aren't going to notice that out on the golf course, but if we do have to declare one the winner, it is the Callaway Chrome Soft X ever so slightly. So what does that all mean? Well, for me personally, on this part of the test, I'd be picking the golf ball that feels the best because there isn't a lot in the numbers. And for me, that was the regular Chrome Soft, but I wasn't offended by either of the other two golf balls. So if they perform better in the other parts of the test, I could happily play them on short game and not be offended. I did hit a few putts with all three of these golf balls. Again, I'm not someone that really gets too much of a feel difference from putting. I've got quite a soft face in my putter. I think that overrides whatever golf ball I'm using. Neither of them offended me, but I can understand if you don't like that feel of a firm golf ball off the face, the X and the XLS may offend you a little bit and you may prefer the feel of the Chrome Soft, but that is also something to bear in mind. Right, let's move up to the pitching wedge and see what the data shows us. Right, so just about to start hitting shots with a pitching wedge, and what I'm expecting to happen here is the standard Chrome Soft to be the highest launching but the lowest spinning. I'm then expecting the Chrome Soft X to be the lowest launching but the highest spinning, and I'm expecting that XLS to be right in the middle on both of those parameters. Also keen to see if we can start to notice a difference in feel between these three golf balls in this part of the test, and we'll also see if that noticeable audio sound is there with the X and the XLS like it was in the short game shot. Right, let's hit the shots. Right, moving up to the Chrome Soft X now. It'll be really interesting to see how it feels and sounds straight off of the bat. Interestingly, that one didn't, it felt firmer, but there still felt like there was a bit of a softness to the cover. And that sound, although it's again clippier, wasn't distinguishably clippier, but the spin rates jumped straight back up, massively increased straight away into the 8000s, which is similar to what I'm seeing with sort of Pro V1X, which would make sense based on the firmness of this golf ball, but that's only one shot. Feels like it's very similar speed as the other ball, but it's just spinning a lot more. It's definitely a clippier sound, definitely a bit firmer, but again, not offensively firm. Seem to be hitting this really nice, really straight. Let's finish up with the XLS. Really interesting to see Again, it's supposed to be a low spin golf ball, but it's still supposed to spin high in this part of the test, so let's see how that happens. Right, let's deep dive into the data from those pitching wedges. Now, starting on the left-hand side, you can see that my club head speed with the XLS was slightly faster than the other two golf balls, and that does mean it will generate a little bit more spin and a fraction more distance, so please do bear that in mind when we look at that data in a second. In terms of smash factor though, you can see that all three of these numbers are really similar, so the ball speed profiles in a pitching wedge is very, very similar with all three golf balls. Now, one of the claims from Callaway we wanted to validate in this part of the test is that short game spin claim that they make. Does it continue all the way up to a full pitching wedge? And it absolutely does. Once again, we can see that the Chrome Soft X is the highest spinning golf ball in this part of the test. We can see that the Chrome Soft is the lowest spinning golf ball and that the XLS is smack bang in the middle. Now, it does look like it's very close to the Chrome Soft X at 7.878 versus 7.962. I do think that's because of that additional speed, and I think if speeds were the same, we would have seen that the XLS was somewhere around 7.5 to 7,600 revs of spin and fitting nicely in the middle. In terms of launch angle, another one of the claims from Callaway is that the Chrome Soft would be the highest launching, and it absolutely is at 26.2 degrees, and that the Chrome Soft X would be the lowest launching, and again it is at 23.2 degrees, and the XLS would be smack bang in the middle. And that does continue to the rest of the ball flight. We can see that the Chrome Soft has the highest ball flight and the steepest descent angle, the X had the lowest of both, and the XLS was smack bang in the middle. So what does that all mean in terms of carry distance and stopping power with a scoring club like a pitching wedge? Well, as you can see from this data, the longest golf ball was the XLS. Now, I do think that's because of that additional speed, and I think without that additional speed, it would have been close between that and the regular Chrome Soft. But in terms of stopping power, the difference between carry and total, the XLS has come out on top ever so slightly at 4.7 yards versus 4.9 with the Chrome Soft and 5.1 with the X. Again, we're talking between all three of these golf balls, 0.4 yards, about 18 inches of additional stopping power. You really wouldn't notice that out on the golf course, but depending on you and the type of swing profile that you've got, one of these balls might be slightly better for you and try and help you improve your game. Now, what happened in terms of dispersion, because that's the other key thing with a pitching wedge? Well, as you can see from this picture here, the Chrome Soft XLS actually had the tightest dispersion as well as having the most stopping power and the longest carry distance. What I would call out is there is one shot with the Callaway Chrome Soft X, that yellow one at the bottom of the screen, but actually effectively means I missed it to the right. If you were to take that shot out, that circle would have got really tight and it might have actually been the tightest dispersion circle. The Callaway Chrome Soft is in no way a bad dispersion circle, but compared to the others, it's just not as tight. So for me here, if I was picking one of these golf balls in the pitching wedge part of the test only, I definitely think I would pick the XLS because it definitely offers the best all-round package for me, but you might be looking for something very different. Now let's see if things change as we move up to that mid-iron, a 7-iron. Okay, so moving on to the 7-iron test now, and what I'm expecting to see here is once again the Chrome Soft be the highest launching, followed by the XLS and then the X as the lowest. In terms of spin this time, expecting the Chrome Soft and the XLS to be very similar because they both claim to have slightly lower iron spin, and expecting to see a slightly higher spin with the Chrome Soft X. In terms of distance, based on the overall package, would expect the Chrome Soft to be the slightly longer of the three balls, but really keen to see if that happens. And also interested to see what stopping power we get with an iron. Is the X, because it's got that slightly higher spin, going to deliver us a little bit more? And what does it also do to our dispersion with the 7-iron as well? So let's check out all of those things in this part of the test. That sounded good. Really impressed by the spin on the Chrome Soft in terms of its consistency. It feels like whatever I do, it's around that 4,500 mark time after time. So really interesting now with X to see if we get more spin and see what it does in terms of distance and also dispersion. So interestingly, first one out the gates, probably as fast as anything I got with the Chrome Soft. This carry is down, but the spin is over 1,000 revs more straight away. And as a result, we're going to get that stopping power from the X, but we might be sacrificing a bit of distance to get it. Like that, there's probably one of my fastest club head speeds hitting a 7-iron so far. and I just can't get the ball speed past that 110 with it, but it is spinning at 6,000. It's crazy. It's good. If you want a high spin ball, this is the one. And this one's going to be interesting because I'm expecting the spin to drop down now as it's the lower spinning ball. But with that firmness as well, what's it going to do? That's really interesting. So that's the first good hit with the XLS. It's spinning right in the middle of the two. Definitely don't feel like I can hit this one as high unless I really hang back and hold that face open. Right, let's deep dive into the data from those 7 irons. Now, starting on the left-hand side, you can see once again there's a bit of variability with my club head speed. This time I was actually a little bit slower with the XLS than I was with the other 2 golf balls. Interestingly, with the smash factor, this is the first time I've noticed something that's a little bit more than a minor difference. The X was significantly slower at 1.4 versus 1.41 and 1.43. Again, I really am nitpicking. That could be down to a little bit of quality of strike, but it is worth noting in this part of the test it could have been a fraction slower than the other 2 golf balls. With the iron spin, Callaway told us that the X would be the highest spinning golf ball out of these 3 golf balls, and it absolutely is at 5604. Now interestingly, they then told us it would be slightly lower spin with both of the other 2 golf balls. So based on the write-up, both using the same wording, I was expecting the spin rates to be very, very similar. They're actually not. The drop-off between the X and the regular Chrome Soft is just over 1,000 revs versus only 500 revs of difference between the X and the XLS. So what I don't know here is whether the XLS was spinning more than Callaway thought it would do, or whether the regular Chrome Soft was spinning less than Callaway thought it would do in this part of the test. But really interesting to note that there is actually quite a big difference between both of those golf balls, and they're more sitting as like a higher, a mid and a lower spinning ball than actually sitting as 2 balls being the same. In terms of the launch angles, once again, it's the same all the way through the bag. Callaway told us the Chrome Soft would be the highest launching. It absolutely is. This time though, we're not seeing a difference between the X and the XLS. So the X should have been the lowest launching, and it absolutely isn't. In actual fact, if you look at the peak heights and the land angles, the X is actually delivering a slightly higher ball flight than the XLS in this part of the test. So that's the first time we've seen a claim from Callaway not truly be validated in my hands as a mid-handicap average swing speed player. What does that all mean for distance and stopping power with that mid iron? Well, the longest golf ball is absolutely the Callaway Chrome Soft, exactly like I expected, and the Chrome Soft X is the shortest golf ball, again like I expected because of that additional spin. But the X does have the most stopping power. The difference between the carry and the total was only 9.9 yards on average versus 11.9 yards with the Callaway Chrome Soft. That's somewhere in the region of like 20% more stopping power with the Chrome Soft. Now that's a question for you guys to decide where the trade-off lies. Would you rather have an extra 3 yards through the air, or would you rather have an extra 2 yards of stopping power and a bit more control into the green? Now depending on the course you play and the conditions you play and the time of year you play, you might find that one of these golf balls is more preferable. One of the things I want to show you again is just the dispersion circles. Really interesting here that the front to back dispersion circle with the Chrome Soft XLS was a fraction tighter than the other 2 golf balls, and but for that one shot that hit really badly out to the right hand side, it would have also been the tightest left to right as well. The Chrome Soft and the Chrome Soft X have really similar consistency of dispersion patterns, which is really interesting because Callaway told us that the X was a bit more workable, so I was potentially expecting that to move a little bit more left and right, but I've certainly not seen that in this part of the test. Admittedly, I was trying to hit a straight shot. Right, let's move up to the final test, the driver. Right, just about to start the final test, which is the driver. Expecting the Chrome Soft and the Chrome Soft XLS to be lower spinning balls than the Chrome Soft X. As a result, expecting them to be a little bit longer through the air as well, because I'm expecting them to get a bit more of a penetrating ball flight, but really keen to see what happens. Also keen to see if one of them delivers a more tighter dispersion, because with driver, distance is great, but you want to keep it on the golf course and give yourself a chance to play that second shot into the green or a good layup into a par 5, etc. So let's also keep an eye on dispersion as well. Right, Chrome Soft X, interested to see what happens here in terms of spin, distance. This is the one I'm expecting to go the lowest, and the good news is I know my driver numbers so well on TrackMan, we'll be able to tell straight away based on ball speeds and strikes what's happening. Ball speeds have been so consistent, 3 in a row. Not sure if we've missed a fairway yet, maybe one. I know I've missed a few left and right, but I think we're missing fairways. Right, let's wrap up this section of the video with a deep dive into those driver numbers. Now, starting on the left-hand side, you can see that my club head speed with the XLS was a little bit faster than the other two golf balls, and that does mean it probably is a couple of yards longer through the air as a result of that, so please do bear that in mind. Now, one of the claims I wanted to validate here is the driver spin claims. Callaway told us the X would be the highest spinning golf ball with the driver, and that absolutely has been validated at 3.334. They then told us that the XLS and the Chrome Soft would be slightly lower with the driver, and that has been validated, but again, like the 7-iron, they've used the same language, so I was expecting the spin rates to be very, very similar. What I've actually seen once again is the XLS is much closer to the X than it is to the Chrome Soft, so something just to bear in mind. In terms of launch angle, we've been able to validate Callaway's claim once again. The Chrome Soft is the highest launching, the X is the lowest, and the XLS is in the middle. So all the way through the test, apart from that one little discrepancy with the 7-iron, we've been able to validate Callaway's claim on ball launch. What does that all mean in terms of distance? Well, the Chrome Soft XLS at 215.6 yards was the longest through the air, but with that asterisk that I did swing it a little bit fast, and I do think there wouldn't be a lot in the carry numbers between all three of these golf balls if the club head speeds were the same. In terms of total distance, the Chrome Soft XLS at 234.3 was slightly longer than the Chrome Soft. Again, I think both those balls would be very similar in length if we were looking at similar club head speeds. And the Chrome Soft X, because of that fraction extra spin, is slightly shorter at 230.1 yards. This is where it gets really, really interesting though, because it's all good and well hitting the driver a couple of yards longer, but if you hit it off the planet, then that's all for no good. Look at the dispersion with the Chrome Soft X. Just look how tight that is on the batch of shots, front to back, left to right, such a tight dispersion circle for a batch of shots with driver. It then gets a little bit worse with the Chrome Soft, and then the worst of the three is the Chrome Soft XLS, but once again, that is always dictated by a couple of shots, and they can really influence the dispersion circle. I don't think any of these dispersion circles are bad. I just think the Chrome Soft X has such a good dispersion circle, it makes the other two look a little bit worse than they are. Right, that's the deep dives of all the data done. Let's give you my concluding thoughts. Right, that brings me on to my concluding thoughts on the Callaway Chrome Soft golf ball range. Now, there's a few things I do want to touch on here. Firstly, we've been able to validate during this test virtually all of the claims that Callaway make about these three golf balls, and Callaway deserve a pat on the back and a big tick for being able to demonstrate that their golf balls do exactly what we said they would do almost exclusively throughout the test. The second thing I want to touch on is, even despite doing this test, it's still really hard for me to work out which of these golf balls is the perfect golf ball for me and to recommend which is the perfect golf ball for you. Now, I've created a little table that I've put up on the screen for you now. Now, I think what you're going to do is you're going to look down the left-hand side and there'll be 2 or 3 of those parameters that will stand out for you as really, really important, and you'll be able to pick out which of the golf balls hopefully ticks the most of those parameters for you, or which 2 pick out the most parameters for you, and maybe you can pick up a sleeve of both of them, take them out on the golf course, give them a try, and then work out which one you ultimately prefer the feel of, because that is really, really important as well, especially off things like the putter and the short game. The next thing I want to call out is which golf ball would I play. Again, after looking at all the data and doing a few more sort of reviews of it, I definitely think the XLS is probably the best all-rounder in terms of offering the best kind of combination of distance and spin profile for me. I definitely need as much spin help as I can get, but I don't want to sacrifice too much distance. And that does bring me on to one of the marketing claims about these golf balls. The Chrome Soft XLS, I think, could confuse people into thinking it's a low spin golf ball compared to the rest of the market. It absolutely isn't. It's a low spin golf ball when compared to the Chrome Soft X, but it is still a high spin golf ball compared to other golf balls I've tested on the channel, so please do bear that in mind, as well as that claim that it's called a Chrome Soft and it is actually quite firm. The final point I would make is at £47.99, these are 3 of the most expensive golf balls on the market and at the same price point as the Pro V1, Pro V1X and AVX. For me personally, I think if I was picking between the 2 brands, I'd probably play one of the Titleist golf balls. That's purely based on the years of kind of brand reputation, consistency and quality control they've built up versus Callaway that historically have had a few issues, which I think they've overcome now over the last couple of years, but there is still that little niggle in the back of my mind that if I'm paying the same price, I probably would pick one of the Titleist golf balls. Right, all that remains for me to say is thank you so much for watching my video. If you like the video, please do smash that thumbs up button. It really does help other like-minded golfers to find my content on YouTube. And if you're not yet subscribed to the channel, then please do consider subscribing. I'd love to have you as a follower of Weekend Tour Pros. I'm ever so close to that 2,000 number now, and I'd love to hit it before the end of 2023. Thank you so much for watching. Have a great day. Goodbye.